Ava stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the collar of her sleek silver jacket. Her reflection looked neat, tidy, professional, but something still felt off. The orbital colony she called home was a marvel of human engineering, spinning rings of metal and glass, gleaming with artificial sunlight, orbiting a distant blue star. Ships zoomed past in silent arcs, and automated drones hovered along corridors, delivering goods or scanning for maintenance errors. Everything was perfect, clean, and precise. And yet, Ava felt ordinary. She ran her fingers through her short, dark hair and sighed. Tonight was important. She was attending a social gathering with delegates from a nearby alien federation. They were not dangerous, at least not yet, but impressing them was crucial for the colony's reputation. Humans had always been underestimated in interstellar politics. Artificial intelligences often saw humans as inefficient, emotional, and unpredictable. Ava didn't like to think about it, but she knew they were right, in some ways. Humans could be chaotic, slow, messy, but humans also had something machines could not replicate: heart, intuition, empathy. Taking a deep breath, Ava decided she needed a second opinion. Her neighbor, Mara, lived just across the corridor. They had shared countless small moments over the past year, exchanging packages, laughing at silly accidents with drones, and sometimes talking late into the night about dreams, hopes, and fears. Mara was not genetically enhanced like many in the colony. She had no visible upgrades, no cybernetic implants. Yet there was a quiet strength in her, an intelligence that didn't need technology to shine. Ava knocked lightly on Mara's door. "Hey, can I bother you for a minute?" she asked when Mara opened it. Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. "Of course," Mara said, stepping aside. Her dark eyes sparkled with curiosity. "What's up?" Ava hesitated. I have a date tonight. Well, not a date, really. A meeting with the delegates. But I want to look good. Could you, tell me how I look?" Mara's eyes studied her carefully, taking in the jacket, the neatly styled hair, the calm posture Ava had worked so hard to perfect. For a moment, Mara said nothing, just smiled faintly. Then she leaned closer and whispered, almost shyly, "Why can't you see? I'm the one who loves you." Ava froze. The words did not belong to the ordinary world of orbital colonies and alien politics. They were raw, simple, and direct. The hum of the corridor, the distant glow of ships passing by, even the mirror behind her seemed to fade. For a heartbeat, Ava could not speak. I, she began, then stopped. Her heart raced. Mara's gaze was steady, unwavering, and strangely comforting. It was not the kind of declaration that demanded a reply. It was a truth. I didn't know," Ava said finally, her voice barely audible. Mara smiled, soft and patient. "It's okay. I just thought you should know." Ava felt a strange warmth in her chest. It was a feeling she had only read about in old stories, or sometimes glimpsed in the faces of humans who had something real to hold on to. Mara's words did not overwhelm her. They did not make her feel embarrassed or trapped. They made her feel seen. They stood in silence for a moment. The kind of silence that was not empty but full of possibility. Then Mara gently stepped back. "You should go. You'll need your focus tonight." Ava nodded, still holding on to that warmth. She returned to her mirror, this time seeing herself differently. She looked capable, confident, and more human than she had before, not because of her jacket or her hair, but because she had someone in her life who believed in her, who understood her heart, even without words. The colony's corridors were sleek, bright, and oddly comforting. Ava walked toward the central transport hub, passing other residents who were busy with their own routines. Some wore shimmering clothes with holographic accents. Others carried tools, books, or personal AI devices. There was a sense of organized chaos in the air, a rhythm to life that Ava had always found soothing. Yet tonight, everything felt sharper, more intense. She was aware of her heartbeat, of her steps, of the gravity of her decisions. The social gathering was held in a dome at the edge of the colony. Glass walls offered a breathtaking view of the blue star outside, and the interior glowed with soft white lights. Delegates from multiple alien civilizations mingled with humans, exchanging gestures, sounds, and light patterns that were part of their language. Ava's stomach tightened. She had studied alien customs, communication methods, and etiquette extensively. But this was different. This was personal. She needed to be herself while representing all of humanity. She found a quiet corner and took a deep breath. Mara's whisper echoed in her mind. "I'm the one who loves you." Ava realized with a small smile that she carried that thought like armor. Not confidence born from vanity, but strength born from connection. A soft chime from her personal communicator pulled her attention. A holographic interface appeared in front of her, listing delegate names, interests, and protocols. Ava scrolled quickly, making mental notes. Humans had always been underestimated because they were unpredictable. But unpredictability did not mean chaos. It could be guided, shaped, and turned into strategy. Tonight, she intended to show that. The first delegate approached, a tall, crystalline being whose body shimmered with faint internal light. It spoke in a series of tones and gestures that the AI translator converted to words. "Welcome, human. Your presence is expected." Ava nodded, smiling politely. "Thank you. It's an honor to host you in our colony." As the conversation began, Ava felt her nerves settle. Each question, each response, was an opportunity to demonstrate what humans could do that machines could not: adapt, improvise, and connect. She noticed small patterns in the alien's gestures, subtle pauses that hinted at emotion or uncertainty. Her intuition guided her, a skill no algorithm could replicate. Throughout the evening, Ava found herself glancing toward the entrance occasionally, half expecting to see Mara's familiar smile. It gave her courage. She realized that humans were stronger than any technical enhancement or AI protocol, not because of machines, but because of heart. Heart and connection. Love, even unspoken or quietly admitted, was a force that fueled creativity, intuition, and bravery. Hours passed. Conversations deepened, laughter mixed with music and light patterns, and Ava felt herself moving through the event like a dancer, fluid, aware, alive. She had entered the gathering thinking she needed to impress others, but now she understood. She was already impressive, not for her clothes, her knowledge, or her skills, but for her humanity. When the event drew to a close, Ava stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the colony. The blue star cast its glow over the spinning rings, ships glinting like silver fish in an endless ocean. She breathed deeply, feeling the weight and wonder of human life. She thought of Mara, of the whisper that had changed everything, and smiled. For the first time in a long time, Ava felt truly seen. Not by an audience, not by delegates or AI systems, but by someone who understood her heart. And she realized that maybe, just maybe, that understanding was the most powerful thing in the universe. As the lights of the colony shimmered below her, Ava whispered softly to herself, "I'm ready. Whatever comes next, I can face it." And in that moment, she knew the human spark, the unpredictable, emotional, courageous spark that no AI or alien intelligence could ever fully grasp, was alive and burning brighter than ever. The next morning, Ava woke to the soft hum of the orbital colony. The blue star outside her window cast a gentle light across the metallic walls, reflecting off the smooth floors and curved corridors. Despite the beauty, there was a tension in the air she could not ignore. The colony had received a routine communication overnight, but something in the message felt unusual. She quickly dressed and made her way to the colony's command center. Mara had already arrived, quietly reviewing the screens with a focus that made Ava feel both nervous and reassured. The center was buzzing with activity, humans and AI systems working side by side, monitoring the outer sensors, reviewing interstellar communications, and preparing reports. "Morning," Ava said, trying to sound calm. Her voice sounded stronger than she felt. "Morning," Mara replied, glancing up from a display. "You look, less nervous than yesterday." Ava gave a small smile. "I've had practice." Mara's eyes softened. "Or maybe you just have someone who believes in you." Ava's chest warmed at the reminder. The memory of Mara's whisper from last night lingered, a quiet flame in her mind. But there was no time to dwell. A red alert suddenly flashed on the main screen, pulling everyone's attention. "Outer sensors detect an unknown fleet approaching the colony," an AI voice announced. Its tone was calm, almost clinical, but the human operators felt the urgency behind it. "The fleet has not identified itself. Their intent is unclear." Ava's heart skipped a beat. She had trained for emergencies, but nothing could fully prepare anyone for the sight of unknown ships moving toward the colony in perfect formation. Their shapes were strange, unlike any human or known alien technology. Smooth curves, glowing surfaces, and shifting colors that seemed to ripple with intelligence. "Unknown fleet," Ava repeated, trying to steady her voice. "Have they responded to hails?" The AI system processed quickly. No response detected. All communication attempts unsuccessful. Mara stepped closer, her calm presence grounding Ava. "We need to stay composed," she said softly. "Panic doesn't help anyone." Ava nodded. She realized Mara was right. Humans had always faced the unknown with courage, sometimes guided by intuition rather than technology. And intuition, Ava knew, might be their greatest advantage in this situation. The Colony Council quickly convened. Delegates from the human leadership, along with senior AI operators, gathered in the command room. The unknown fleet hovered at a distance, silent and watchful, as if waiting. Ava was asked to join the council. She hesitated, then stepped forward. "You have the skill set to interface with their communication patterns," the council leader said. "You might be able to understand them before we have to act defensively." Ava's stomach tightened. She had always been aware of her unique ability. Humans were unpredictable, emotional, and capable of interpreting signals in ways AI could not. But this was her first real test. "I'll do my best," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Mara's hand briefly brushed Ava's arm. "I'm right here," she whispered. The reassurance gave Ava courage she hadn't realized she needed. Ava entered the communication chamber, a circular room filled with holographic displays, sensors, and translation devices. The unknown fleet hovered just beyond the colony's protective field, their shapes shimmering as if alive. Ava studied them carefully, noting patterns in the movement, subtle changes in light, and almost imperceptible pauses. "These ships, they're trying to communicate," she said quietly. "It's not words, it's patterns, signals within signals." The AI systems processed the data, but struggled to interpret the complexity. Ava's mind worked differently. She relied on instinct, observing subtle shifts that machines ignored. Slowly, she began to understand the rhythm, a combination of pauses and pulses that suggested curiosity rather than aggression. "They're not attacking," she said. "At least, not yet. I think they're trying to understand us." The council members exchanged uncertain glances. "How can we respond?" the leader asked. Ava closed her eyes for a moment, focusing. We need to show them human intention, something clear, something emotional. Logical patterns alone won't work. We need to be human. Mara, standing nearby, nodded. We can do that. Together. Ava quickly devised a plan. Using a combination of light signals, movement patterns, and vocal tones, she began transmitting messages to the fleet. It was strange, almost like dancing with thoughts instead of bodies. She combined logic with emotion, showing the aliens that humans were not just mechanical beings. The fleet responded, shifting colors and moving in ways that suggested recognition. Hours passed in a tense, delicate exchange. Ava felt drained but exhilarated. Each successful response from the unknown fleet was a small victory, a reminder that humans had skills no machine could replicate. The delegates began to relax, watching in awe as Ava guided the communication. At one point, a shift in the fleet's formation caused a ripple of panic in the room. Sensors misread it as an attack, and alarms blared. Ava raised her hand, calm but commanding. Wait, they're signaling trust. I can feel it. Just watch carefully. Mara stayed by her side, her hand resting lightly on Ava's shoulder. You're doing it, she said. You're human. That's enough. Ava smiled briefly, her focus unwavering. It was true. Being human was enough. Imperfect, emotional, intuitive humans could achieve what machines and logic alone could not. By the end of the day, the unknown fleet had moved into a stable position, maintaining distance but no longer appearing threatening. They seemed to be observing, curious about the colony and its inhabitants. The council let out a collective sigh of relief. Ava's heart raced, a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. Later, as she walked through the colony corridors, she reflected on what had happened. The fear of the unknown had been real, but so had the power of humanity. Connection, intuition, empathy, these were not weaknesses. They were strengths, and Mara had reminded her of that, quietly and unwaveringly. Ava stopped by Mara's door and knocked lightly. Mara opened it, smiling as if nothing extraordinary had happened. You did it, Mara said simply. I knew you could. Ava laughed softly, a mixture of relief and pride. We did it. Humans did it. Mara's eyes sparkled. Yes. But you were the heart of it. Ava felt warmth spreading through her chest. She realized that the day's events had shown her more than just the unpredictability of the universe. They had shown her the power of trust, of connection, and of love. Humans could face unknown threats, not just with technology or weapons, but with heart. As the colony lights dimmed for the evening, Ava and Mara walked together to a quiet observation deck. Ships glided silently past, stars twinkled far beyond, and the vastness of space seemed less intimidating with someone by her side. Do you ever wonder, Ava asked softly, what makes humans different from everything else out there? Mara smiled, looking at her with gentle certainty. Yes, it's not our strength, our speed, or our intelligence. It's our heart, and maybe the people we care about. Ava nodded, thinking of the fleet, the council, and the whisper that had changed her the night before. She realized that human connection could shine even in the darkest, most uncertain moments. And for the first time, she truly believed that humanity, full of flaws, emotions, and unpredictable courage, could thrive anywhere in the universe. Ava woke to the gentle hum of the orbital colony again, though this morning felt different. The unknown fleet had not left. Instead, they had maintained a slow, hovering presence just beyond the colony's protective shields. The Human Council had been cautiously optimistic, but Ava could sense the subtle tension in the air. Observation alone was not enough. If humans wanted to make real progress, they would have to understand the fleet better. Mara was already in the command center, her eyes scanning data streams from the fleet. "Good morning," she said, without looking up. "Sleep well?" Ava shook her head, smiling faintly. "Not really. I keep thinking about their patterns. They're intelligent, yes, but also different. Not like anything humans have seen before." Mara leaned back in her chair, thoughtful. Different can be dangerous, but it can also be an opportunity. We just need to pay attention. The council called Ava in again, this time with a new mission, to establish a form of trust with the unknown fleet. Communication had begun, but the council wanted to go further. Ava realized quickly that traditional methods, AI translators, formal signals, would not work. The fleet was too advanced, too unique. Humans would need to rely on their instinct, creativity, and adaptability. Ava and Mara spent hours analyzing the patterns the fleet produced. Colors shifted in ways that suggested mood or intent, but the shifts were subtle and irregular. Pulses of light appeared to carry meaning, but only when combined with movement and timing. Ava realized that the fleet was responding not just to the signals they sent, but to the humans themselves. It was as if the fleet could sense personality, intent, and emotion. "This is incredible," Ava whispered, eyes wide as she watched the holographic display. "They're reacting to us, not just our machines. They can feel something." Mara smiled. "That's why humans are important. Our emotions, our unpredictability. We're the bridge." Ava nodded, determination rising within her. Humans were often underestimated in interstellar relations. They were seen as flawed, inefficient, and emotional. But that unpredictability, that very flaw, could also be their greatest advantage. Machines could calculate probabilities, but they could not sense curiosity, empathy, or hesitation in the same way. Humans could combine logic and intuition, heart and mind, to achieve what others could not. Ava spent the next few hours sending carefully designed signals to the fleet. She adjusted colors, pulses, and movement sequences, watching the fleet's response closely. Each subtle change prompted a reaction. Sometimes the ships shimmered with brighter light. Other times they moved in flowing patterns, as if dancing with her signals. It was mesmerizing and exhausting, but Ava felt a growing connection with them. By midday, the fleet's behavior had changed noticeably. They were no longer simply hovering. They were exploring, observing, and even mimicking some of the signals Ava sent. The AI systems in the command center struggled to keep up, but Ava noticed something the machines could not. Subtle hesitation in their patterns, a curiosity that resembled human behavior. "They're learning," she said, excitement in her voice. "Not just observing. They're trying to understand us." Mara's eyes glimmered. "And we can learn from them too. That's the beauty of humans. We adapt, we grow, we connect." The council watched from the observation deck, impressed but cautious. Ava realized that the human advantage was not technology, weapons, or speed. It was something deeper, something no AI or alien fleet could replicate. Humans could combine empathy, intuition, and reasoning in ways that made them unpredictable and powerful. As Ava continued, a thought struck her. "Mara, you need to help me. I can't do this alone. Your perspective, your calm, your understanding, it matters." Mara stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on Ava's shoulder. "I'm here, always. Let's do this together." They worked as a team, a perfect combination of focus and intuition. Mara suggested patterns that Ava would not have thought of, subtle changes in light and timing that made the fleet respond more positively. Each time the ships shifted, it was like they were learning from the humans, recognizing that these beings were unlike any other in the galaxy. Hours passed in a careful dance of signals and observation. Ava began to notice a pattern in the fleet's responses, small but significant changes that suggested a form of understanding. The ships no longer moved in random arcs. Instead, they coordinated with Ava's signals, almost as if trying to communicate on her level. "Look," Ava said, pointing to the holographic display. "They're mimicking our signals, but with their own variations. They're trying to express something." Mara leaned over, studying the display. "It's like they're curious about us. Fascinated, even. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but also relatable." Ava smiled, a spark of excitement lighting her eyes. Humans had always been underestimated, but this situation proved that unpredictability was an asset. By combining observation, intuition, and emotional intelligence, they were building a connection that no AI or standard protocol could achieve. Later, as the sun of the distant star cast golden light across the colony's spinning rings, Ava and Mara took a brief moment to rest. They sat together in the observation deck, watching the fleet move gracefully beyond the shields. "You know," Mara said softly, "it's amazing how humans can make a difference in ways others don't see, not because we're stronger or faster, but because we feel, we think, we adapt." Ava nodded. "Yes, and we care. That's what sets us apart. Machines calculate, aliens strategize, but humans understand each other and even others who are different. That understanding, it's powerful." Mara smiled, her eyes full of warmth. "And maybe it's even stronger when we have someone who believes in us." Ava felt a thrill of emotion. Mara's presence, her quiet support, gave Ava the courage to push further. She realized that human strength was not just individual. It was collective, born from connection and trust, and that strength could reach across the stars. The communication with the fleet became smoother as the day went on. The ships seemed less alien, less threatening, and more curious. Ava's ability to read patterns, combined with Mara's insight, had created a bridge of understanding. It was delicate, fragile, but powerful. By evening, the council called Ava and Mara to a meeting. "Your work today has exceeded expectations," the leader said. "The fleet is showing signs of recognition and hesitation that suggest peaceful intent. This is unprecedented." Ava felt a surge of pride, but also humility. "It's not just me," she said. "It's humans. Our unpredictability, our connection, our empathy, that's what matters. And having someone who understands you makes it stronger." Mara reached out and squeezed Ava's hand. "And you understand me too." For the first time, Ava fully realized the depth of their partnership. It was not just personal. It was human. Humans had always faced uncertainty, danger, and the unknown. But their advantage lay in something more than technology or strength: the ability to feel, to adapt, and to connect across differences. That night, as Ava looked out over the colony, she felt a quiet confidence. The unknown fleet remained outside the shields, observing but not attacking. They were learning, responding, and adapting to humans in ways that no machine could predict. And Ava knew that humans had a power that transcended fear or technology: the ability to turn connection, empathy, and intuition into strength. She turned to Mara, who smiled knowingly. "We did well today," Mara said. "Yes," Ava agreed. "Humans did well, and we will continue to do so." The stars beyond the colony seemed brighter than ever, reflecting a universe that was vast, unknown, and full of possibilities. Ava realized that human strength was not just about surviving, it was about thriving, connecting, and showing the galaxy that being human was something remarkable. And as she stood with Mara beside her, Ava felt something else: a spark of personal hope. In a galaxy full of uncertainty, humans could make a difference. And maybe, just maybe, love and connection could be as powerful as strategy and technology. The morning sun of the distant star bathed the orbital colony in soft, golden light. Ava and Mara arrived at the command center early, the air thick with anticipation. Today, they were not just observers, they were planners. The unknown fleet had spent the past 2 days studying the colony, responding to signals, and adjusting its formation as if testing human patience and understanding. The Council wanted more than passive observation. They wanted trust, a connection that could lead to cooperation. Ava felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with purpose. This was her chance to prove that human intuition, empathy, and collaboration could succeed where technology alone often failed. Mara's presence beside her was a calm anchor, a reminder that she was not alone. "We need a strategy," Ava said, scanning the fleet's projected movements. "Something that shows cooperation, intelligence, and human creativity. Something they can understand beyond logic." Mara leaned over the display, her dark eyes analyzing patterns with a clarity that rivaled Ava's own. "We need to combine multiple layers, light patterns, motion sequences, even subtle sounds. Humans can express intention in ways machines or aliens might not expect. That unpredictability, it's our advantage." Ava nodded. "Exactly. But it has to be precise, too. One wrong signal, one misstep, and we could confuse them, or worse, they could misinterpret it." They began crafting a sequence of signals designed to show the fleet not just that humans were intelligent, but that humans could cooperate, innovate, and respond with flexibility. Ava adjusted the timing of light pulses, while Mara suggested small variations that added emotional resonance. Together, they created a communication pattern that was uniquely human, a mixture of logic, empathy, and creativity. As they transmitted the first series of signals, the fleet responded immediately. Colors shifted in patterns that suggested curiosity, while ships moved in intricate formations that mirrored some of Ava and Mara's sequences. It was a delicate dance, requiring focus and patience. Every movement mattered, every pause carried meaning. "Look at that," Mara whispered, pointing to the display. "They're not just responding, they're adapting. They're learning from us." Ava's chest swelled with pride. Humans had always been underestimated in interstellar relations. Machines calculated faster, aliens strategized differently, but humans could inspire, connect, and adapt. That adaptability was a force no AI or alien logic could fully replicate. Hours passed in a careful rhythm. Ava and Mara adjusted signals based on subtle feedback from the fleet. Occasionally, Ava paused to take a deep breath, letting her intuition guide the next step. Mara stayed close, offering suggestions, reassurance, and the quiet strength that only someone who truly understood you could provide. Suddenly, the fleet shifted in an unexpected pattern, a formation that seemed almost like a question. Ava studied it carefully. "They're asking something," she murmured. "They want to test our response." Mara's brow furrowed slightly. "A challenge, maybe? Or a trust exercise?" Ava nodded. "Yes. They want to see how we handle unpredictability, how we adapt." She adjusted the signals, introducing subtle variations that demonstrated problem-solving, patience, and cooperation. Slowly, the fleet's movements mirrored hers, their curiosity turning into recognition. "This is incredible," Ava whispered. "They're not just observing, they're communicating in their own way." Mara smiled. "And it's all because of humans, because of our heart, our creativity, and our ability to connect." As the day progressed, Ava and Mara refined the interaction further. They discovered that the fleet responded strongly to subtle emotional cues, tones of voice, pauses, even gestures projected through holograms. Humans could express intention with nuance, something that machines often overlooked. By combining these cues with structured patterns, Ava created a system of communication that the fleet could understand more clearly. The council watched in awe as the fleet began forming intricate shapes in space, patterns that mirrored the humans' own signals. It was as if the ships were trying to tell a story that humans could interpret through intuition and empathy. Ava realized that this was the true power of humanity. Logic and technology could only take them so far. To build trust, to navigate uncertainty, to connect across species, humans needed heart. And when combined with courage, creativity, and intelligence, that heart became an unmatched advantage. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon of the distant star, Ava and Mara took a brief break on an observation deck. The fleet shimmered in the distance, its colors pulsing in harmony with the signals they had sent. "You know," Mara said softly, "it's strange. We're building a bridge between two species, but it feels personal too, like we're learning about ourselves as much as them." Ava looked at her, a small smile forming. "Yes. And I realize humans are stronger when we work together, not just as a team, but as people who understand each other." Mara's eyes softened. "And maybe that's why I whispered last night, because seeing you like this, I realize how important you are, not just to the colony, but to me." Ava felt a warmth in her chest that went beyond professional pride. I feel the same way," she admitted. "Your presence makes me stronger, more focused. I think we bring out the best in each other." They shared a quiet moment, letting their connection strengthen alongside their strategy. It was not just personal. It was a demonstration of human power in its purest form. Emotional intelligence, trust, and collaboration were forces that could guide not just relationships, but entire civilizations. The next series of signals pushed the interaction further. Ava and Mara introduced more complex sequences, testing the fleet's ability to respond creatively. To their delight, the fleet mirrored their patterns with subtle variations, as if trying to contribute its own ideas. Humans and aliens were collaborating in real time, a partnership built on curiosity, understanding, and the recognition of intelligence beyond physical form. The council watched with growing excitement. "This is unprecedented," one member said. "No fleet has ever shown this level of responsiveness to human signals before. It's remarkable." Ava felt a surge of pride, not for herself, but for humanity. Humans were unpredictable, emotional, and sometimes flawed, but that unpredictability was a strength. Their ability to empathize, adapt, and innovate in real time made them a force unlike any other. As evening turned to night, Ava and Mara transmitted one final signal for the day. It was a simple sequence, designed to convey respect, trust, and goodwill. The fleet responded immediately, forming an elegant pattern that resembled a wave, a gesture of acknowledgement. Ava stepped back, exhaustion and exhilaration mixing in her chest. Mara squeezed her hand gently. "We did it," she said. "Yes," Ava agreed. "Humans did it. We've shown them what makes us human." For the first time, Ava truly understood the power of love, trust, and collaboration. It was not just a personal bond with Mara, it was a force that could guide humanity through the unknown, a spark of connection that could shape entire civilizations. As they stood together, watching the fleet shimmer in the distance, Ava whispered softly, "Whatever comes next, we can face it. Together." Mara nodded, her eyes reflecting both stars and unwavering confidence. "Together," she echoed. And in that quiet moment, among the glowing lights of the colony and the distant alien ships, Ava felt a deep sense of certainty. Humans had something no machine, no AI, and no alien intelligence could ever fully replicate. Heart, courage, connection. It was more than survival. It was triumph, and it was only the beginning. The orbital colony glimmered under the light of the distant blue star. After days of careful communication, observation, and collaboration, the unknown fleet remained outside the colony's shields. But now, their presence felt different. There was no threat, only curiosity. Ava and Mara stood side by side in the command center, watching the fleet move gracefully, each ship responding to human signals as if participating in a silent conversation. "This is amazing," Ava whispered. "They're not just observing us anymore, they're learning from us. They're trying to connect." Mara smiled, her hand brushing lightly against Ava's. "Humans have always had that power. It's why we've survived, thrived, and explored the stars. Because we care, we adapt, and we connect." Ava took a deep breath. "And today, we've shown it." The council convened for a final briefing, though Ava and Mara had already become central figures in the ongoing interactions with the fleet. Delegates and senior AI operators watched as Ava explained the patterns, the feedback, and the subtle nuances of the communication. She described how intuition, emotion, and empathy had bridged a gap that no technology could fully close. "The fleet has responded to our signals in ways that indicate recognition," Ava explained, pointing to a holographic display showing the ship's coordinated formations. "They've mirrored our intentions, adapted to our variations, and demonstrated curiosity. This is unprecedented. Humans are showing them something they cannot replicate: heart, creativity, and understanding." A delegate from the council nodded, impressed. "You're suggesting that the human advantage is humanity itself? Our unpredictability, our emotions, and our ability to adapt?" Ava smiled. "Exactly. The fleet responds to intention, not just data. They recognize empathy, patience, and collaboration. These are things humans excel at, naturally, instinctively." Mara leaned close and added, "It's why we need to trust each other. Working together makes us stronger than any AI or protocol alone." Outside, the fleet shimmered with soft, multicolored lights. Each pulse seemed to echo Ava and Mara's messages, an acknowledgement, a dialogue without words. Ava realized that the fleet had reached a level of understanding that transcended species and technology. It was not just a victory for the colony, it was a triumph of humanity itself. The day progressed with careful observation. Ava and Mara continued their coordinated communication, adjusting sequences to express goodwill, curiosity, and collaboration. Slowly, the fleet's movements became more complex, more deliberate. They were forming shapes and patterns that suggested not just recognition, but respect. Ava turned to Mara, her voice quiet, but full of awe. "They understand us, in a way I didn't think was possible." Mara nodded, smiling. "They've learned that humans are unpredictable, and that unpredictability can be extraordinary. That's our strength." The council monitored the final stages of the interaction, noting the fleet's signals. Ava explained each subtle variation: pauses indicating curiosity, shifts in color representing attention, and complex patterns that mirrored human creativity. It was a delicate process, one that required patience, focus, and intuition. Finally, the fleet began a sequence that was unmistakably a gesture of acknowledgement. Ships moved in graceful arcs, forming symmetrical patterns that reflected Ava and Mara's signals. The lights pulsed rhythmically, almost as if the fleet were applauding. The council erupted in quiet cheers. Humans had succeeded where logic, AI, and strict protocol could not. Ava felt a surge of emotion. She looked at Mara, whose eyes shone with pride and warmth. "We did it," Ava whispered. "Yes," Mara replied. "Humans did it. Together." As the excitement settled, the council called for a debriefing. Ava presented her analysis, explaining the key factors that had led to the success: human intuition, adaptability, emotional intelligence, and teamwork. She emphasized that it was not technology alone that had bridged the gap with the fleet. It was humanity itself. The fleet has shown curiosity and recognition, Ava concluded. We've demonstrated that humans are capable of connecting across differences, understanding the unknown, and responding creatively. That is the human advantage. That is what makes us remarkable. The council members nodded, some whispering among themselves. One delegate, a stern but thoughtful man, spoke up. This is more than a victory for the colony. It is a reminder that humanity's greatest strength has always been its people, their hearts, minds, and connections. Ava, Mara, you have reminded us all of something we often forget. Ava smiled, feeling a quiet pride, not for herself alone, but for all humans. Later, Ava and Mara stood on the observation deck, watching the fleet from a safe distance. The ships shimmered, responding to subtle signals from the colony, a silent dance of acknowledgement and respect. It was as if the fleet had understood that humans were not merely a species to be studied or conquered. They were intelligent, empathetic, and creative beings capable of collaboration. Ava took a deep breath, letting the vastness of space fill her senses. I never imagined humans could reach this far, not just physically, but emotionally. This connection. It's something no AI or alien intelligence could predict. Mara smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of the distant star. And it's why I whispered last night. I wanted you to see the strength you carry, the difference one human can make. You're extraordinary, Ava. Ava felt warmth in her chest, a mixture of pride, gratitude, and something deeper. No, she said softly. We're extraordinary because we work together, because humans, we don't just survive, we thrive, and we connect. Mara reached out and took Ava's hand. And maybe that's the greatest power we have. Love, trust, and understanding. It makes us unstoppable. For a long moment they stood together, holding hands and watching the fleet shimmer in the distance. It was a reminder that human strength was not measured in weapons, shields, or technology. It was measured in connection, courage, and heart. That evening, the council announced that the fleet had retreated to a safe distance, leaving the colony secure. The ships did not leave out of fear or threat. They left because humans had shown something greater than force. They had demonstrated understanding, cooperation, and the power of human intuition. The colony erupted in quiet celebration. Humans had not just survived the encounter, they had triumphed. Ava and Mara walked through the corridors, now filled with a quiet sense of accomplishment. Residents nodded at them, some whispering words of admiration, others smiling in gratitude. Ava realized that their actions had done more than impress the fleet. They had reminded everyone what humans were capable of when heart and mind worked together. Do you think they'll come back? Ava asked. Mara shrugged gently. Maybe. And when they do, we'll be ready. Because humans don't just react. We adapt, we connect, and we understand. Ava smiled, thinking of the fleet's graceful formations and the subtle acknowledgement they had received. She realized that this was just the beginning of humanity's journey in the galaxy. Humans were not only explorers, engineers, and negotiators, they were ambassadors of empathy, intuition, and connection. As they reached the observation deck again, Ava turned to Mara. You know, I think last night changed everything. Not just for me, but for all of us. Your words, they reminded me that humans aren't just capable of surviving in the stars. We're capable of thriving. Mara looked at her, her smile gentle but unwavering. And you reminded me why humans are special, why we matter. Together, we've shown the universe what humanity can do. Ava took Mara's hand again, feeling the quiet power of their connection. "Together," she said, echoing the words they had shared days before. Mara nodded. Always together. The stars beyond the colony seemed brighter than ever, as if reflecting the triumph of humanity itself. Ava realized that human strength was not just in science, technology, or physical prowess. It was in heart, courage, and connection. Humans could face the unknown, adapt, and build bridges where others saw only distance. And as Ava and Mara stood together, watching the fleet shimmer in the distance, she understood something profound. Love, trust, and connection were not just personal strengths. They were universal. They could guide civilizations, inspire understanding, and create bonds stronger than fear or uncertainty. The unknown fleet had arrived with silence and curiosity. Humans had responded with heart, courage, and connection. And in the end, humanity had triumphed, not by force, but by being human. Ava squeezed Mara's hand, feeling a quiet certainty that the galaxy was full of possibilities. Together, they had proven that humans could not only survive in the vast unknown, they could thrive. And in doing so, they had shown the universe the extraordinary power of the human spirit.